Good afternoon. I'm sitting here with Nancy Garrett, and Nancy is a member of the community, and I'm going to have a conversation with Nancy as far as what's going on within the community and what she sees, and etc. So welcome, Nancy.
Thank you, Dave.
Nancy, before we really get into this, could you give me a little bit about your background as far as where you came and how you got here and stuff like that?
I grew up in Whitefish.
Okay.
My folks built Bay Point on the lake, and I left there right after high school and was married and had 2 children. We moved all over the Midwest. I've moved 19 times in 5.5 years.
Wow, was your husband in the military?
He was working for a real estate appraisal company.
Ah, okay.
And then we moved to Fargo and lived there 3.5 years. Then moved to Helena, and I was there for 13 years. I sold real estate there, and I still do sell real estate.
Okay.
I have my license. And now I'm doing condo and home renovations and enjoying that. I'm also doing blogs for a group called OpenDoorFlathead.com.
Okay, of course.
And I've met wonderful people through that and have very much enjoyed it.
Thank you, Nancy. How long have you been back here?
Since 1982.
Since '82.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you're up in the Columbia Falls area, so you had lived primarily up in Whitefish before you moved and everything to start your life.
Yes.
So did you make a conscious effort to move up there, or?
Yes. Yes, I was sharing a house with someone, and he was moving up here.
Okay.
So we decided to come together.
To Columbia Falls?
To Whitefish in '82.
Okay.
I bought a house in Columbia Falls and had lived there alone for 9 years.
Okay.
Wonderful house. It was new when I bought it.
Yeah.
It's great to be able to do that.
Yes, and I understand in previous conversations, Nance, we talked a little bit, and you talked about the groups that used to get together to have conversations. Could you tell me a little bit about that and tell the group about that?
In about '86, I started a spiritual study group in my home, and that segued into many other study groups. People who attended my study group went out and started their own and did many other new things. It was, I think, one of the first in the Flathead to, we discussed all kinds of spiritual things.
Like, did you discuss A Course of Miracles? And
we discussed mostly the Seth books, because I was in them. Jane Roberts, I was into them at that time.
Okay.
But we had many people come. Some would teach us about auras, and others, just various things. It was interesting and fun. And I learned a great deal, and I made awfully good friends from there.
Right. Have you noticed the energy in this area for your whole life, or how would you characterize that?
I think that I always knew I was lucky to live here, and I believed that we were more special here than anywhere else. And since I have lived so many places, I realize that's true. It's not just Whitefish, it's the entire Flathead.
Yes.
And the people here are different, some of them, in the way they look at things. They're very spiritually minded, some of them. And so that has been good for me. I have enjoyed meeting many people, doing a lot of things.
Variety of interest.
I used to teach a writing class called Writing Your Memories, meant for older people. I did that through the college, and I met many wonderful people through there.
Was that like an oral history, written oral history program?
Yes, it was. Well, it wasn't oral; it was written.
Right.
And we did it just so they could get their stories out.
Right.
Some of them made up little booklets. One woman became a columnist for the Big Fork Eagle.
Oh, okay.
And she was part of our group in Big Fork for years.
Okay.
And she passed away recently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you're an author also, so could you sort of tell us a little bit about that and how you got into it and how the topic evolved for you and things like that?
when I was 11, I decided to be an author. However, when I got out of school, I was intending to go to Missoula to journalism, to study journalism.
Right.
And instead I was married and pregnant right away. So I had 2 children by the time I was just 19. And after that, we moved, and it was very difficult to even think about going to study. So I continued with my education by reading anything I could get my hands on, and I have literally read hundreds of thousands of books, magazines, articles, and things. And through the years I have written, but I was not very good at it. I didn't have the mechanics down, so I studied that. Also, I didn't know what to write about because I hadn't lived much other than as a wife and a mother. So I set out to live a more interesting life, and I have done that. And then I could write about it.
Mm-hmm.
I was living in a cabin belonging to a friend of mine, and I got this idea for this story many years ago. Bigfoot.
So the title of that is Bigfoot?
Bigfoot. Bigfoot by Nan Mackenzie.
Okay.
And I wrote the book, started almost 13 years ago. It took me a year to write. I just disciplined myself to sit down for an hour from 5 to 6 in the morning. And once I got through with this book, I began trying to publish it, and I couldn't find a publisher, couldn't find an agent. Since I was so used to the discipline, I carried on and wrote a second book, and that one took me 4 months.
Ah.
This is the first of 3 volumes in this series.
Are they all, is it a trilogy about the same topic?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a really fun, funny, exciting book to read.
Okay, good. Is it a quick read type book?
It is. It is. It's it has some insights in it, but I wouldn't say it's a deep book. It's more of an adventure.
Okay.
And an excitement, written in the first person by a young widow who's living in a cabin in the Montana wilderness and meets a Bigfoot who kidnaps her, but she then becomes a friend to him, and he is a friend to her. So it's a compassionate book.
Okay.
Based on what I know about Bigfoot. I've seen their tracks and I've heard them, but I've never met one.
Yeah.
Not yet.
All right, well, in Nan's profile, there's going to be some information that'll be a link to the book and how you can order it and things like that. And Nan's contact information will be in the profile, so if anyone wishes to talk to Nance about any kind of things that we've been talking about, feel free to call her or contact her via the email. So
That's true.
thank you very much, Nance.
Thank you, Dick.